Whoa, whoa, don't be getting a head start. Let's go. Well done.
I'll give that to you. There was only ever going to be one result.
You give it to me. Like taking candy from a baby. Oh man, I can't believe how good we got it today.
Oh my God, sunshine, primo trails,
yeah.
And we're on the two hottest e-bikes on the market right now.
Absolutely. Danny, let everybody know what bike you've got.
Just catch my breath. This is the Gen 4 Specialized Turbo Levo. And no one needs to ask you what you're on because you haven't got off it since you got it.
Team Amflow, right?
Yeah, exactly. What everyone wants to know, right, is which of these bikes to buy.
Well, Danny, this isn't a test, although it is a versus, so we're not going to be testing these bikes today, but there is one thing we can do straight away, and that's find out which one of these is fastest.
Right, let's go.
Danny hasn't got a chance.
I heard that.
Let's bring it on, Danny. Yeah, and what do you got in mind for this hill climb challenge?
Well, we just want to know which bike's fastest to the top, right? And we've got a pretty bog standard fire road to do it on.
Yeah, so what do we do? What do you want to do? Roll and start, static start? I mean,
I think let's go rolling, so get a chance to get clipped in, get a chance to get saddles in the right height.
Clipping in?
Clipping
you cheater.
In.
You cheater.
I need all the help I can get, right?
Absolute cheater. So what do you think? Should we roll to the first log and then start the race and then finish at the other felled tree further up the hill?
Let's do that. Wait, hang on a minute. Should we start in the same gear?
Danny, you're crazy, man. I got 850 watts of peak power. I'm like, I only need 3 gears.
This is true. Amflow's a 3-speed, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, fast, faster, and fastest.
Oh God.
Right.
Oh, I'm never going to live this down.
Okay. You ready? Okay. Oh, whoa.
Yeah, but we're not starting yet.
We're just rolling, right?
We're rolling.
It's a seat. Whoa, don't be getting a head start. Let's go.
Oh my God, there's no way.
Easy. Well,
I'll give that to you. There was only ever going to be one result.
You give it to me. Like taking candy from a baby.
The gap wasn't as big as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, okay. You are lighter than me. You are fitter than me. You are clipped in. Yeah. And also, I think, so on that climb, Danny, I hit this will be interesting. I hit the max speed twice, 2 points of motor cut out, because I was actually over the assist limit. So maybe a steeper gradient would have highlighted the difference more. I don't know, but like, did you do that?
Interestingly, no, I didn't hit the speed limit.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that might be the difference just between me being that little bit further ahead of you. It was a foregone conclusion, really, wasn't it? Like, yeah. I've got 850 watts peak power. I've got 105 Newton meters torque. You've got
666 watts and 101 Newton meters.
Okay. So there's quite a big, like the torque difference isn't very big, but 666 versus 850. Like I've said this, I'm sick of saying it now, but like it's like having an SL bike and a full power bike put together, right?
Yeah, and the power is what you'll feel on
on that gradient, because it's not steep enough. Actually, Danny, you know how you said it wasn't as big a difference as you thought it was? Well, I've not even put this in boost yet.
Oh, what?
Boost gives me 1,000 watts peak power and 120 Newton meters of torque. So do you want to go again?
Well, I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess.
Well, you are, yeah.
I guess we got to do this.
Yeah. Let's go do it again, yeah. Oh, that's it, I'm out again! But basically, that was me on the speed limit. I took my hands off the bars.
I hit the speed limit too.
Okay, because you were trying
but
harder.
You were already way ahead of me, so.
But Danny, like that's just a stupid Top Gear challenge, right? Like we're not climbing technical trails, we're just being idiots, right? I mean, there's a lot more to that Gen 4 Specialized than just the peak numbers. And I'd like to start there because they're offering like a 2-tier system with the motors, right?
Yeah, and I think there's some aspects of this bike that totally trump that bike.
Let's start with the thing that doesn't trump it, is the numbers.
Okay.
The motor numbers.
Yeah, all right, we gotta get that elephant out of the room.
Yeah.
The big thing that Specialized has done with this bike is 2 different power levels depending on how much money you pay.
Yeah. The tax, power tax.
It's the power tax.
Maybe because they're from California.
That's it, yeah, it could be. So if you're a 1%er and you buy the S-Works model, you get 720 watts of peak power and 111 Newton meters.
Okay, so you get a little bit more torque than the Amflow, but you get less power.
Whereas the peasants, who are spending
Danny, you're such a peasant.
£10,250 on this bike, they only get 666 and 101.
So quite a bit less than this bike, which costs this particular model costs £6,000. That's a big difference.
This is I think it's a really controversial topic.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are going to be put off by it.
Okay, and I think like, so Specialized isn't the only company that ever had to have like the two-tier approach, like Bosch CX and Bosch CX Race. But the thing with the CX Race, it was a physically different motor. Both of these Specialized motors are identical, and they're detuning it for the less expensive bikes.
That's right, yeah. And this is a weird kind of business model that's been developed in the last few years. BMW did it with their heated seats. You had to pay £15 a month to activate them, even though they were installed in your car.
But Danny, how long did that last for?
Exactly. They had to have a really embarrassing climb down on that, like about a month later.
I think we're going to see another climb down because I can't see why, if it's the same motor, that Specialized just couldn't turn around and go, everyone on the other bikes just offer them the 720 watts peak power. And then again, we try and bridge that gap between the Specialized and the Amflow, right? But we said we want to get the elephant out of the room first. What do you think the key things are that people are going to be like really interested in that bike over this bike?
Okay, well, this bike is, this was a market leader. It's been a market leader for years, right? And a lot of the aspects of this bike have translated from the old one that were really popular, which is the adjustability.
Yeah.
This bike can be pretty much whatever you want. Like you had a kind of nightmare trying to get that.
It's my cut and shut.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
And you were lucky that you got that bike where you wanted it in a way.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And also I know what to do, like, because I mean, I modded the Gen 2 Levo in exactly the same way, right?
Yeah. But this bike, you've got 3 different head angle options, you've got 2 BB heights, you've got 2 chainstay options.
For wheel size, right? So
yeah. So you've got 12 different configurations for this bike. So
I've got one configuration, Danny, this one. That's the one I like.
You found it. You found your perfect.
And to be fair, Danny, like they didn't used to have that. Like on the Gen 2, there wasn't any of that. And that was why I did the same modifications I made to this bike. Yep. And what's really interesting is Specialized were adding these things to their mule bikes, so their prototypes when they were developing the bike, and then they'd sweat over, oh, shall we go for a 63.5 or 64 or 64.2 head angle? And then like someone just had the bright idea to go, hey, look, why don't we just offer all of the adjustments we have on the mule bikes on the production bikes? Yeah. And that's why you've got all that.
Yeah, it's a smart move, and Specialized have always been ahead of the curve with stuff like that. So I think another crucial aspect on this bike that is going to be really attractive to people is you can actually remove the battery.
That's a biggie. That is a really big one. Because I mean, we've had people in the comments saying, no thanks to the Amflow because can't get the battery out. It's just a deal breaker for some people, right?
Absolutely. And more than that, the battery is modular. So there are 2 battery sizes for that. There's 2 battery sizes for this, but there's also...
Only on the top model, Danny. On this one, you get the 2 options.
Yeah, so you're limited in what you can buy. Whereas on this bike, it's still, all the bikes come with the big battery, but you can get the smaller one, the 600, and there's a range extender, which Amflow doesn't have currently. Yeah,
so what you could go, if you wanted to, you could take the big battery out, put the range extender on and go like SL, right?
Exactly, and that is a unique aspect among e-bikes. I don't know of any other bike that will power itself solely off the range extender. It's a big range extender, it's 280 watt hours, right? So that's almost the size of the battery in the Levo SL. And you drop 2.6 kilos out of the bike instantly if you...
I'm so pleased you brought up weight, Danny.
Okay, let me get my point across first before you...
Sorry, let's park that, right? But let's please come back to it because like I can trump Danny on that.
Okay, all right. When you run this bike solely off the range extender, it feels completely different to running it with the big 840 in there. So much more agile. It accelerates out of corners better. There's so much less weight on the front end of the bike that you can actually drop the pressure in the fork. So I feel like it's...
You're selling it to me, Danny.
2 bikes in 1.
So Danny, how much does your bike weigh?
Okay, 24.05 kilos.
So let me, without even doing the math on that, so if you take the big battery out, which you need for all the power and the range, and put the little battery in, your bike's still heavier than this one.
True, but...
I get it though. You're looking for handling of a bike, I just don't think you're going to get very many runs in.
Well, that's to be found out, right? Because
Yes.
we need to do a range test on this bike, or rather, you're going to do a range test on this bike.
I am. Yeah, that's my first job on that bike, is to see how far it goes.
Yeah, and we can compare that to the Amflow and
Yeah.
then all the other SL bikes you've
Yeah.
tested.
Yeah.
But on the weight, you know, this
Does that
bike.
throw you a bit, Danny?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fighting hard. I'm fighting the corner for this bike quite hard, right? Okay. This bike does come with DH casing tyres as standard.
And you know what? When I did the development video with Specialized, I said you're going to get, for like the S-Works bike, I think it was 23.5 kilos. It cost 12.5 grand. Luckily, it wasn't 14 like the old S-Works. And I was like, you're going to get mullered on 2 points. I thought one was going to be price, because I thought it was going to be 14 grand, and the other one was going to be weight. But I actually think when you get that level of power, and the bikes are so capable, you actually need downhill tires on them. Like, I mean, you just think, like any bike that's 19.5 kilos, you know straight away it's got the wrong tires on it.
Yeah, well, Specialized built up one of these with trail casing Specialized tyres and some other little bits that were, you know, a bit lighter, 36 fork, lighter brakes. They got it down to 19.6 kilos.
Okay.
So,
yeah, so that's comparable with the high-end Amflow, right?
Oh, and the smaller battery it had as well. So yeah, it is comparable. It's you know, you can build them like that. But that's the Amflow weight that everyone published the weight from the Amflow, but it was the top bike with the small battery, which you can't buy.
Exactly, because when we weighed it in the car park here, it was 20.5 kilos roughly, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Al, I think Specialized are a little bit of a victim of their own success, because the Levo's always been this market-leading bike that everyone's been trying to fight to, you know, kind of beat. And then, you know, Amflow came along and basically reverse-engineered an old Levo and slapped an amazing motor in there.
Absolutely. I mean, Danny, and the parallels between the Gen 2 Levo and this bike, they're quite shocking, really. Like I mentioned earlier, that I mulleted the Gen 2 Levo to get the geometry I wanted, because it had the motor, it had like 90 Newton meters of torque, it had good power, it didn't rattle, the motor didn't rattle. It was one of the only bikes that didn't rattle. So when you went down the trail, all you heard was your tires, and it had the one thing that everybody wanted, a 700 watt hour battery that was super easy to remove, right? And I mean, I think what Amflow's come along and done is they've gone like, okay, they've answered a problem that people didn't even know they had. Like, who knew they wanted 850 watts of peak power? I didn't. Like, and Danny, and if this bike hadn't come along, we'd be sitting here with that one and some other brand's bike, and that would be the benchmark.
Yeah, I think the amazing thing is it's just come out of nowhere.
And I need to be real clear too, that we're talking benchmark in terms of power and torque, right? And maybe even how the motor delivers that, because this bike isn't just big numbers, it's like really controlled. But like, if you ask me, has it got the benchmark in adjustability, or the benchmark in removable battery, or benchmark in sizes, that bike's available in 5 sizes, this one's in 4. And if you're a smaller rider, you can actually get one of those to fit you.
Absolutely.
You can't get one of these, you won't get one of these to fit you.
Yeah.
I've changed a wheel on it. I mean, that bike's got a 38 fork instead of a 36 now. You and I could go down a rabbit hole about whether that's actually better than having a 36, because the 2 winners of our e-bike of the year test both had 36 forks, and one of them was the Gen 3 Turbo Levo, and it felt completely different to the Pro bike and the S-Works bikes, and this bike feels completely different to the high-end bike too. So there's even a discussion like, do you need all the fancy suspension bits on an e-bike, or do you want them moving more freely because the bikes are more stable? Yeah,
you're right. You know, the part of that was probably damping. Part of that was probably the chassis size.
Yeah.
And you know what? So if we're really comparing apples to apples, the Levo that compares closest to that is the Comp model, and it's only £800 more expensive.
Yeah.
And it comes with the big battery. It comes with a 36 fork like that, but it comes with a better shock, and it comes with Axis wireless drivetrain.
Whereas this one's got mechanical.
Yeah. So, you know, they're starting to converge a little bit in terms of spec, obviously not in terms of power and torque, but...
And I think that's the other thing that Amflow's done. Amflow has come in really aggressive with the pricing, right? I mean, these are good value bikes, right? And then it's forced, not only do you have to have the same, you have to have similar power and torque numbers, you also have to like look at what you're getting for your money and go, okay, we need to be closer to that.
Yeah. So, you know, while we're on the subject of suspension, we haven't even touched on the Genie shock and all the kind of opportunity to tune the suspension feel of this bike, have we?
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of options. Like, I mean, I went into the launch of that shock. It's amazing. It's a really simple piece of technology to put in there. So you can tune the kind of support and you can tune the end stroke separately with 2 different types of volume spacers. I mean, you've got all of the geometry adjustment on it. You could get that bike set up like way easier how you want it than what I did with this one.
Yeah, or rather you could spend a lot more time getting it set up how you want it.
And also the thing with e-bikes is like, and e-trail bikes is you don't really know how people are gonna ride them. Like I like this bike because I've got it set up super low, super slack, smaller back wheel, DH tires. I use it like a shuttle bike. I'm not really like, I've actually probably made the performance worse for technical climbing because I've slackened the seat angle too. Whereas with that bike, you could kind of have the steep seat angle, the slack head angle. You could tune it to whatever kind of terrain you want to ride.
There's definitely like at least 2 or 3 people that are into that sort of riding.
Yeah, so me, you, and then like some other person, right?
One of the most fundamentally important issues for riders in the UK of e-bikes is reliability, right?
Do we really want to go there?
All right, well, let's get that elephant out of the room to start with. This is a completely new motor, 100% ground up redesign.
So not 300% return motor?
There's no belt in this to stretch, so for starters. But if we move on from that, let's talk about the waterproofing, because that's a huge issue for riding in the winter and everything, right? This bike is IP67, which means that you can submerge this bike in 1 meter of water, and that's the whole system, not just an individual component.
Okay. Well, Danny, I've got no idea what the IP rating is on this bike.
Well, I think that's because they don't actually give you publish a rating for it.
Okay.
Certainly not for the bike as a system, maybe for individual components. But so you know, maybe they're not quite at the level that Specialized is with this. And you look at the things like the battery connection in the frame and stuff. I mean, that's got like a really strong rubber seal around it and stuff. There's a lot of things that they've gone into, you know, insane amounts of detail with this bike. I did have issues with it cutting out, but I'm not going to blame, or I'm not going to hold Specialized really to sort of trial over that, because this bike's been shipped from Madeira, separate from the battery. Every single individual bike has to be sized to their battery, so the mounts in there, and that's what they'll do. And so I'm going to totally give Specialized the benefit of the doubt with the cutting out problem.
And to be fair, Danny, if the battery was gonna cut out on a knock, it would have cut out when I blew the rear wheel up on Sunday, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that was 100% rider error.
I mean, that was totally hands up. I fast up to that. Like I followed Danny over a jump. I came up short, like big time short, and I exploded the rear wheels. If you're watching and you're wondering why the bike's got a Crank Brothers rear wheel, it's because the other one's tachoed.
And that's an important point to raise again, right? Because the wheels, the Reval wheels, the carbon ones, they have a lifetime warranty, replacement warranty, right? The bearings on this bike have a lifetime replacement warranty as well. So you can get a free set of bearings every year as the original owner.
But Danny, that bike costs £4,200 more than this bike? How many bearings could I buy for that?
Yeah, I know, but you've got to compare the two bikes that are like a similar spec.
You're right.
But yeah, no, I get your point. I get your point. There is a premium that has to be paid with this bike, 100%.
And Danny,
but some people might say that bike is being sold at a loss.
It could be for market share. Who knows? That's why I said they're really aggressive with the price. And you know, I get it. Like, I mean, I don't really care how the bike looks. I mean, I used to ride orange bikes because they had a nice ride feel. I mean, they didn't look pretty, right? I'm like, but I really liked how they rode. I really like how this bike rode. But I get it. If you've got like a new T6.1 with the spoiler and all the kit on it, you probably want that one hanging on the back of it, not this one, right? So if we got you with the thumbnail, I apologize. It wasn't really a full head-to-head test, but we did do a hill climb challenge. And we also went over some of the details that separates these two bikes.
Yeah, and the real test starts now. So keep an eye out for Al's range test video on the Turbo Levo coming soon. And let us know in the comments which of these two bikes you prefer.